Good morning, everyone. Oh, let's start again. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Thursday for June 25th. It's almost the middle of the summer already, and we have a bunch of good AI news to tell you about. Although this week has been a little bit on the slower side, which honestly is a good break. Maybe like a summer break is what we deserve because things are about to get crazy very, very soon. Let me add Wolfram on stage here. Wolfram, welcome. How are you doing?
Hello.
What's going on?
It's a stressful week this week. Before AI engineer, where I will be doing a workshop, so I have to prepare some stuff for this. Also, a new model released last week, GLM 5.2, is keeping me up with all the benchmarking. So
Keeping you
very
busy.
busy.
100%. We will talk about GLM 5.2, folks, because open source AI is having another DeepSeek moment. And this time, the stock market is not crashing. And this time, welcome, Nistan. This time, it's kind of like in our circles. And I've yet to see one negative reaction about GLM, which is very impressive. And we'll tell you some news about GLM soon as well. And we covered it, but in our tradition of covering something and having to play with it for a week, then come back and tell you about like, hey, this is actually really dope. We're going to tell you about GLM. Wolfram and Nistan, you guys both did a fried AI. You guys want to talk about this real quick? Because sometimes we don't get to actually try things on the show here. So you get to try things.
Yeah, it was a fun little experiment. Listen, it was your idea initially, so if you want to tell about it.
Yeah, just fixing my microphone at the moment, but we picked something very ambitious. Actually, I still have the whiteboard here. We try to make Richie conscious, so we try to make something for where we get Richie to talk, and it was pretty hard.
With GLM, right?
You used yeah. We used not just GLM for Richie, but to develop the whole thing, because Wolfram actually took the, let me just put this way, Wolfram connected codecs, OpenAI codecs to GLM. So we were saying, how far can we get? And we got pretty far. It was doing work. I think we would have probably completed it if we had used the actual codecs, but I was also using Opus to do it in a different way. And it's not like I was getting that much farther.
Yeah,
I did get the real-time transcription and stuff going on, but there were a lot of edge cases where it would cancel out some words and it wouldn't pick up the commands correctly. And we were going to try and use Quindla's Pipecat as well. But as far as the development workflow went, yeah, that thing can carry work.
Yeah. I think I would have gotten further with Hermes, because in Codex it couldn't use many of the tools because it's not made for the harness, and the harness you need a responses API, which we used, but it was limited. It was not the full Codex experience you get. So I think if I had used a harness that has full access to all the tools, then we would have gotten farther.
I think that the highlight here is, first of all, GLM is very good at agentic stuff. We're going to talk about GLM in a bit more. The second highlight is you guys finally had a chance to just chill and build with no restriction on like how long the show is going to go for, or whether or not it's going to get cut into newsletters or podcasts, right? And I think that's like half of the fun. So that's great. And if folks like that format, for sure, we should do more. So as part of the global Thursday umbrella. How about other stuff?
Something? It wouldn't be a weekly thing, but it would work. And in the end, I had to go because my earphones they ran out. So that was a hard limit, 3 hours. Then they are done.
Yeah, we could pick a task that we know we can do, or something that we prepared beforehand. Because what we picked is something that you spend like at least a whole week on.
Yeah.
And we were trying to do it during the show, and obviously it was going to take more than 3 hours to
based on the feedback that I got, based on the feedback that I got, I don't think that like delivering is the important thing. Figuring out stuff while talking about them, I think, is a lot of benefit to many folks who are listening, and so I think that's great. How about the rest of the week, though, folks? what is interesting? Let's do like one highlight before we jump to TLDR, because we do have a guest today, and probably later in the show we're going to talk about that. But let's talk about what is the one highlight off the top of your head without notes this week.
I think it's a new approach. The FUGU model that we have seen from Japan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right.
This stream is censored. What did you say?
FUGU. I'm not sure how to pronounce this.
Sakana FUGU?
FUGU. Whatever it is, the approach. I haven't used this. It's not available in Europe. Maybe because we mispronounce it, but it is definitely an approach I think we will be seeing more of. It reminds me of what OpenRouter did with having an endpoint, like a model that is actually doing multiple models and doing agentic stuff, taking it together, something like that. I think we will be seeing more of this.
So Sakana AI is a Japanese AI lab and co-founded by one of the folks on the Transformers paper. And David Ha, previously from Google, is kind of the chief scientist there. We talked about Sakana's nature-based algorithms multiple times, scientific evolution-based algorithms, right? Some of their models as well. And they finally released a multi-agent orchestration system in a single API. Not only that, Wolfram, you brought it last week as well from OpenRouter. OpenRouter has kind of had the same approach that they released just last week. And now OpenRouter is collaborating with Sakana. And Sakana is available via OpenRouter, so maybe even in Europe. So you may not be able to register directly. We'll talk about that. This was the one highlight because they're saying they're matching Fable performance. Everybody's trying to say they're matching Fable performance at this point. Nissan, how about you? What was your one highlight this week?
There was a very particular model which I was shown, which is now in testing, and I cannot talk about. But
nice teasing. Nice.
Yeah, that will be for next week. It's something that everybody can run at home, and yeah,
I was pretty gonna say the 1-bit GGUF of GLM 5.2 from Onslaught.
I did not say 1-bit. You said 1-bit, but there is more from that. More from that end. Okay, there was also a
no. I mean the actual thing that launched this week from
yeah. The 1-bit. Well, that one's a mixed 1-bit. Like quite a few of the layers.
Keeping secrets, like your face is all over your face.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to do this.
We have to consider ourselves as journalists. Otherwise, we're not gonna get news ahead of time. Actually, I kind of like getting news ahead of time, so I have time to test and play and show you guys. But sometimes, like a reaction when it comes out is like the best thing, because every time like some other folks get access to like not even Fable, just the new Google, they all say, "Oh, I got free early access. I play with for a week," and then they basically say the same thing. What is mine this week?
Okay, I would say the 1-bit Onslaught quantization, that was very good. There's also another person that made it shrunk the model GLM from 750B to 500B. So there was a pruning of it, but OX0. That one was also very good, although it did drop quite a bit in performance. The relative performance is still pretty high. I didn't get a chance to play for it. I saw people were still making games and stuff with it. And other than that, not really. There were a whole bunch of OCR releases.
Yes. It's a big OCR week. We'll talk about at least 2 of them.
But I didn't use any of them. So, and I think there was another Korea model release for.
So you're doing the TLDR.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean,
it's still GLM. It was a GLM week, all right? Everybody's realizing this is a DeepSeek moment. It just hasn't hit yet in the media and stuff, but the vibe completely changed this week. Even that people that were holding out, like I would say the people at AMP, which would say, hey, we have to use the best model because our customers just need the best thing to run, because they're working in development and the models are just like barely good enough to keep a complex application as is, even the best ones. So they were the ones that were always holding out from using open source models. And now even they are switching to GLM, which is pretty significant, I think, in terms of what's happening with open source. People it's finally hitting home that this is going to happen.
The one thing that I don't usually get to do is to talk about what happens to Thursday after the live stream, on the live stream, right? Because it happens after. But this is the second custom page that I built for the episode using the model that we talked, right? So this was Fable. Fable created this like nice, there's like a little bit menu on the side. Fable is really good at web design for sure. It like redesigned completely how our pages look. And then this is GLM. I just wanted to show you guys that this is not like standard boilerplate Opus like web design. I really, really like this GLM design that it made for its own episode. I really like this. I like the kind of the empty, like, I don't even know how it did this. Is this a custom font? I don't know. This thing, I have no idea. Like, this is a castle that it built because like the thing is called GLM Storms the Castle. It had tags here. I really like this one. And so I think, Wolfram, that this is the first model in open source that's really good at web design and front-end design and just generally UI design. And I think that this is also a breakthrough thing. So definitely GLM was kind of the hottest, because while the GLM release happened last week, because we already talked about it, the excitement and everybody trying it out and then causing everybody else to try it out, at least on our timelines, I think that this is this week. This is kind of definitely
time to propagate. Basically, you can do a quick vibe check, and it's just vibes in the beginning. The benchmarks take time if you don't have pre-access, so that takes time, and that is why usually just a week after you really see what the people are doing with it, and there's consensus. There's an unanimous consent that this is a great model and it's on par or even surpassing on certain areas Opus. So that is amazing that we can actually run this locally on our own systems, not at home, of course, but a company can, if they want to, do this and become completely independent of the proprietary models. This has been possible for the first time in that big way, basically.
Yeah. And the fact that they can quantize it. All right, folks, I think we're ready for TLDR. We've collected some folks. Dear listeners, viewers, welcome to Thursday yet again. Feel free to send us a comment if you use GLM. What do you think about this? If you use one of the quants, for example, Milos already saw that like is posting 1-bit and 2-bit quants are looking crazy good. And I agree, the folks from Unthlos are some of the craziest folks. Just a small kind of like clearing of housekeeping, let's call it small housekeeping before we jump to the TLDR. Next week is going to be our now semi-annual AI Engineer World's Fair. Maybe 3 times a year we're going to do them. I don't know. Both me and Wolfram are going to be on the floor of AI Engineer covering the show yet again. We've been doing this since 2023. This time, both me and Wolfram are also speakers. Wolfram has a workshop on Monday about Wolfbench. If you are in the AI Engineer, go check out the schedule. Make sure that you come and support us, because this event is like 6,000 people at this point. This is like one of the biggest events. Definitely the Coachella for AI. Almost everybody's going to be there. Nissan, are you coming to AI Engineer? You should come next time. You haven't been to one of the
workshops. Yeah. Just a quick addendum, basically. So it's not just showing what Wolfbench is, but actually how can you build your own Wolfbench? It's all open source, and how can you build your own evaluation from zero to leaderboard?
That's super cool. So that's on Monday. Definitely check out the schedule. And I'm talking on Wednesday in the token maxing track. I'm talking about the ZL Continuum. Should AI engineers still read code in 2026? Did you guys read any of the code that you generated on Friday, by the way? Or was it all YOLOing?
I did try to look at the actual
nice
index.html that was generated from Wolfram.
Yeah.
And in those 30 seconds that I actually did read code, it was pretty good.
So you guys are all on the L continuum, L side of the continuum. So we're both going to have talks. And then on Thursday, we're going to actually do a show from...
Check it out, people. I saw a preview of Alex's talk, and this is no kissing his ass, basically. Just really, I saw the talk and I said, okay, these are amazing things that I would screenshot, and yeah, it is insightful.
Yep,
definitely.
And for the Thursday folks, I'll post the slides, and once the talk is recorded, I'll definitely bring it to you as well if you're not there. As a reminder, if you can't come to AI Engineer, Nistan, for example, the whole point of our coverage is to tell you how it is, how the Levi feels, what they're talking about. Like, this is why we're doing this, and we've been covering AI Engineer for a while, so hopefully this will resonate. Folks, let's jump to TLDR. We've been yapping for a while, and no actual news yet. So TLDR section on Thursday, where we basically briefly run through all of the major releases. There's a bunch of others that I didn't add here because it's coming to a point where if there's no big release, then we're covering like small features. I don't want to do that today. Let's go to TLDR, and then we'll dive into open source AI. I think there's a few very interesting things. Let's go. All right, folks, today on Thursday, the TLDR for June 25, with you, Alex Volkov, AI evangelist at Weights and Biases and CoreWeave, and we have Nistan and Wolfram, who's also an AI evangelist at CoreWeave, head of Wolfbench. We're going to cover multiple things on the show today. So we'll start with Sakana's FUGU, multi-agent orchestration system delivered in a single API. They claim it matches frontier models like Fable 5, which we still don't have at this point. June 25, 2 weeks has passed since Fable. We don't have it, despite rumors. OpenAI unveils Jalapeno. OpenAI unveils Jalapeno, its first custom AI inference chip built with Broadcom, and they claim from start to production or in just 9 months, which is probably insane. We'll talk about OpenAI's new chip. Anthropic launches Claude Tag. This is Claude in your Slack. Now, it's a very interesting thing. The people who got it are starting to talk about this as a new person on their team. And Andre Kaprathi, famously, an open like source person who's now in Anthropic, is getting a lot of heat because of his love for this product release. So we're definitely going to mention that. Shout out to Karpati, by the way, still in Anthropic, still talking to us, and hopefully we'll continue to. OpenAI is expanding their cybersecurity product called Daybreak with Codex security plugins. OpenAI also updates, I have this here, OpenAI also updates the OpenAI GPT-5 Instant, which is the model that the free 5.5 Instant. Let me start this again. OpenAI updates GPT 5.5 Instant. This is the model that free users get. 100, tons of people use this. Almost 1 billion people weekly. Instant update. In open source AI, this has been a pretty big week. If you guys remember, we covered Crea 2. We had Vic from Crea talk to us about kind of like what it means to train their own model from scratch. Crea now released that model in open source. So shout out to Crea. Definitely shout out. We told you guys that we'll bring it to you once the model will be open source, and it is a 12 billion parameter image model, and raw and turbo versions was released. Baidu shipped an unlimited OCR model. The 3 billion parameter model with constant KV cache parses goes to 40 plus pages in a single pass. It's a very interesting thing from Baidu to release, and generally it was a big OCR week. And we gotta give shout out to Daniel Han and the Unthlast team for the 1-bit quantization of GLM 5.2. It's been a 5.2 week for sure, and the community has stepped up. And this is a 1-bit quantization that really it runs on Mac Studios. You take a 786, how big is the model? 744 billion parameter, and quantize it to 1-bit to run it locally. I think that's cool, and we'll call this out and we'll just talk about this. I don't have a Mac Studio, and also I don't think we should cover this in open source, but Apple just raised prices on all their products, citing shortages in memory. So I'm not gonna be able to get a Mac Studio to run this, but I think it's very, very cool, and it just shows what's possible with open source. In tools and agentic engineering, a corner that now is maybe the staple of Thursday and has been actually for a while. We just recently coined it. Aside launched a why is he backed? Why do we care about this? Aside launched a AI browser, they claim beats Cloud Fable on agentic benchmarks. I actually tried it. I can show you. It's pretty cool. You launch this browser. It's kind of similar. It kind of looks like Arc and Dia, but it's like a browser and an agent. Let's add Peter to the stage. Hey, Peter, welcome to the stage. We're just in the TLDR. Mistral, I told you guys it's going to be a big OCR week. Mistral OCR drops OCR 4. Bounding boxes, block classification, and they claim 72% human preference across 600 documents in 12 languages. I've looked at some comparisons of this OCR versus the Baidu one, so we're definitely going to chat a bit about the OCR use case. And Wolfram, you added this one. OpenAI adds a very interesting feature into Codex. It's called record and replay. You basically let Codex look at you clicking buttons inside kind of its browser and doing other stuff. And then Codex looks at this and builds a very detailed skill of how to achieve the task that you want. Maybe that's the one we can show on stage today. Like I haven't played with this, and I think it's really, really cool.
They're really serious with their Codex stuff. All these little things that make a big difference. When they added the feature where you can take a screenshot and paste it directly in without you having to use another external program, now you can create recordings. You could have done this before and given a video and say make a skill, but now it's also seamless. That is a great, great advancement.
Yeah. I think we have kind of breakish news for the open source AI. Liquid AI launched a new model. Nistan, you just sent it. It's let me take a look. 230 million parameters. Just like nothing. Well,
yeah, it's a 200 megabyte. It's like 10 songs.
It's 10 MP3s from.
Yeah.
Wow. And you compare it to what? I don't understand. Okay, we'll have to see what these models are.
Okay, it's not like it's good, but considering this is something you can run on any CPU from the last 10,
we like
20
to say toaster, right? Like we like to say
20 years. You can literally run this on some toasters that have like a touch screen device.
Listen, at some point on the show, I will actually bring a toaster, and on Friday, I would love to see you build a toaster that fries a toast using an LLM. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so we have breaking news from Liquid AI, LFM 2.5, 230 million parameters. I think I also want to talk about maybe a little bit the new Siri that I finally got. New Siri AI and iOS 27.2 update. I got the new Siri, not overly impressed, but it's pretty cool. In this week's Buzz, a corner where we cover things from weights and biases and CoreWeave, GLM 5.2 is the top open model rankings, goes live on CoreWeave serverless inference, folks. So we'll show you this briefly. I think we're serving at a very, very good speed, decent price comparison as well. And generally, with Peter here, we'll cover other exciting things about GLM 5.2. And Wolfbench has results for GLM 5.2, so we'll cover those as well. A video is very exciting. ByteDance announces CDance 2.5 with 30-second single-pass video generation, 50 multimodal references, also a 4K upgrade. ByteDance CDance 2 was already crazy. 2.5 is crazier. I haven't had the chance to test this out yet, but based on everything I saw, it's kind of craziness.
I think 2.5 is scheduled to launch. I think it's like something like 6th of July from memory.
So it's just an announcement, yeah?
Yeah, and I think it's available in China now, but not outside of China. That's my vague memory about this. So yeah, probably worth fact checking.
So this is how it feels to European when OpenAI releases like a voice thing and you guys don't get it. Now that's how we feel when we don't get CDance 2.5 because only Chinese folks will get it. Okay, so we will mention this and then we'll talk about this when it's actually live. And our guest for today, Sean Grove, a previous founder and part of the OpenAI team that worked on models in there. Also our friend, Sean Grove, is participant in many kind of Thursday from the comment section. And he's now a founder of Linzumi. They announced it. It's a team chat for orchestrating fleets of AI coding agents. And I would love to chat with Sean about his experience. Sean is also, by the way, one of the top received talks on AI Engineers YouTube channel. Over 1 million people saw Sean talk about kind of building stuff. So I definitely am interested in his AI engineering approach. Anything big, interesting, folks, that happened and we didn't add to the TLDR? Anything like huge that we should cover? Folks in the audience, folks on stage, anything that I missed? If not,
should we list the things that didn't happen that we wish would?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
What did we? I mean, I guess there's still some chance for new models out of OpenAI, but there were a lot of rumors on that. There's Fable. Everyone's waiting for that. What else? I saw Sonnet 5 being rumored at some point, right? That went away. What else? Yeah, it feels like we're like on the cusp of a bunch of things happening.
3.5 Pro moving to July. Yeah. Milos is shouting this out. Yeah, like Google and Gemini promised us 3.5 Pro, and that seems to have moved. I wonder if the US government ban of Fable is affecting other labs and just waiting to see what's going on. No new GPT. There is a rumored bi-directional audio version with video that folks are calling GPT BD, and that's for the live talk, and that supposedly is very similar to the GPT Real-Time 2 model that was released, a model that you can say, hey, every time I say a word, react to me, and it kind of like listens while it talks. It's pretty cool as a concept. I haven't seen, like I've seen demos, but I haven't seen that release. Maybe there's going to be a breaking news, I'm hoping. But besides this, yeah, a bunch of stuff didn't happen. It's a chill week. So let's talk about the chill week. Let's go start with open source this week, yeah? I think open source is having a banger time, so let's do open source. Open source AI, let's get it started. Our favorite corner is open source. We are known for coverage of open source, of having GLM folks on the show, by the way, before they were like explosive. We talked about DeepSeek before DeepSeek blew up. We actually covered GLM. Lou from GLM was on the show when I think it was GLM 5 or 5.1. I think it was 5. When Lou came and talked to us about the agentic stuff. And GLM is having an insane week, insane run. We all had a chance to try it. I played with it in Hermes. Really, really decent. Didn't miss. It's not Fable level, but it's faster and way, way cheaper. Folks, what are you hearing? Let's show folks on the stage some love for GLM. But like, what are you hearing? Peter, let's start with you maybe in Arena, because I think there was also like a web Arena update for GLM that you guys did.
Yeah, so we released a few different benchmarks for it. So we have one which is Agent Arena, which I personally think is like the best score that aligns most with my feel of the model. So where it's just above 5.1, but it's not like miles above, and it's not like beating Fable or like things like that. Maybe I can just share my screen.
Yes, please.
So people can see what I'm talking about. And then, yeah, so here, so we've got GLM 5.2 here. So it's above 5.1, but it is kind of at the level of 5.4, like a bit 5.5, but like below Opus and so on. So to me, that feels about right. So it's a really solid model. And we were doing some extra analysis, which hopefully we'll release today, about like how much tokens is consuming. And I saw some reports, I don't know, maybe you guys saw as well. I think there was Snowflake CEO was saying, and there were a few other reports like that. They were saying that GLM uses like a lot more tokens than others. We didn't see that in our data. It's like pretty much within like what you'd expect.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was kind of interesting. So I guess maybe for different tasks it could be less efficient. I'm not sure, but on Agent Arena, where we've got pretty good distribution of tasks, we didn't see that. So I think I found that interesting. Where it did kind of show pretty crazy results is on that web dev arena, which is testing mostly front end. So in here, it came second after Fable, which is kind of insane.
Peter, just before you joined the show, I showed 2 pages that I built for the website for TSDI. The previous one was with Fable. This one, obviously, GLM week. I decided to build like the custom page with GLM, and it's really, really good. It's surprisingly really good at web dev. Nothing that, like, generally AI models were not that great. So we're seeing folks like wake up to this thing. I don't know what they distilled it from also, because the web design is not like Opus. It's a different. It feels different. We should. I really wanted to do this. It's not gonna be like a GLM show, but I definitely wanted to do this. Hassan from Together AI built the blind test. You guys want to play the blind test? Actually, let's play this on stage, okay? He built the blind test. This is a comparison between web designs of I think Fable or maybe Opus 4.8, which is not that great web design, but also GLM 5.2. He famously calls out the pricing here. Let me remove the banner so we can see. Yeah. Do you guys want to play this? Let's play this.
Yeah, let's play it. Let's play it.
Right. So which one costs more to build? Basically, he's saying which one is Opus's, which one is GLM 5.2.
The one on the left is Opus, just from the circular buttons.
Nathan says that this is Opus and this is agreement here. Okay, let's do one by person. Nistan, you are correct. Let's go. Next one, Peter. Let's have you. Which one costs more to build, left or right?
I think Opus is on the right.
Opus is on the right, so we'll say.
I also think so.
Ta-da! This is incorrect. This only costs 3 cents. This one costs 22 cents to build. I really find it funny that he adds the pricing here and not the actual kind of like model. All right, Wolfram, your turn. Which one costs more to build?
Which one costs more? Left one.
Left one. Let's actually scroll through them. We can scroll through them. Still left one, Wolfram?
The right.
I would say the left one.
I think Opus on the right.
Wolfram, you are correct. This is built by Opus. This is built by GLM. But you guys can see this is the same prompt, and like GLM is not too shabby. Like it's doing great work. All right, I'll try to guess this one. This has like a headphones thing and silenced, engineered to a whisper, silent shed by sound. So it's also writing the content, right? So it's not just the design. I would say it feels to me that this is Opus. No, I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say Opus on the left.
Headphones are nice on the left, but you know, what I think this is showing is, and that's my experience as well, is that it looks like they have pretty good defaults. So like if you just say give me a web page, like it gives a pretty nice web page. But I think when you use like Opus or other models, the distribution is bigger. So if you want to do something that's a little bit different, then you'll get better results. But yeah, I think if you want just give me just a normal looking web page, which is not going to be ugly, I think that's what maybe our leaderboard is showing. That is, and we saw some others as well, where it's like beating. I mean, ours is not beating Fable, but like it's close, right? And I find that, for example, using GPT models, their defaults are awful, and they just like starts off like looking really bad. But you can make amazing things.
I think, Peter, the highlight of what you're saying is very interesting to me. I haven't thought about this at all. We're all comparing this open source model to the best possible web designer that we have, which is Fable, or let's say Opus right now, because we don't have access to Fable. It's miles ahead of GPTs. GPT, like, OpenAI is leading the pack, 1 billion users weekly. This open source model from a not so small now Chinese company coming out of Tsinghua area and university is just slapping GPT all across the face. And the folks from Codex are saying, hey, the best way to make web designs with Codex is to go and generate them with GPT image 2 and then turn this generation into thing, because it's, the defaults are awful. So we should compare it to the rest of the pack as well. Yeah, sorry, I think I cut you off there. Any last words about GLM?
Someone tweeted that asking Codex to build a website is like asking your engineer to build a website. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, but now engineer has access to to models like GLM and web designers via GPT image. Wolfram, let's talk about the tokens as well. I think
I just wanted to say something bad about the model because we have been praising it a lot, but it is not good in German. So if I just say hi and the first response I get and there are already mistakes in there, then that is disappointing for me personally. It doesn't make a difference if you are using it as an engineer or as your workhorse model, but I wouldn't use it as my main model that way. So I would still prefer GPT 5.5, for instance, to talk to make plans, and especially discuss stuff, and then have GLM 5.2 do the work, and then GPT can review, for instance. So that is how I would use the model. But using it as my main in German, I would not do. And if it's bad in German, it's probably bad in other languages as well.
Yeah.
So that may be a factor, especially if you are thinking about using it for a company website where you are fixed to a specific language and you need that, then it's not the best in that case. So it's a very smart model, but its linguistic skills in other languages are not the best. That's my finding.
And we should also mention that while it's achieving these performances in web design, it's not a multimodal model. It's just text completion, right? So I'm very, very sad to see how a multimodal model from them is coming along. DefDog in comments on X is saying, I think GLM 5.2 is why Gemini 3.5 Pro was delayed. And folks, I haven't thought about this, but imagine you're Google and you're training Gemini 2.5 Pro, and Sundar sees like the results from GLM, and he tests this against your flagship model that you're about to release, and you are not scratching the surface, and you're not beating an open source Chinese model on many benchmarks. That would be an embarrassing release for Google. That could be a reason why they delay it. It's actually a good thing. Yeah. Wolfram?
And hasn't GPT 5.6 been delayed as well? If you are saying that.
We don't know because they didn't tell us when it's running.
Yeah. No, I think, and this is pure speculation, I think my guess, if 5.6 is actually delayed, which actually I don't think we actually know, because I think it's like
OpenAI doesn't tell us, hey, the model's coming.
Exactly.
That's why.
Yeah, so I don't think there was any actual reporting, right, of GPT 5.6 being delayed. I think it's just in the rumor mill, we're kind of psyching ourselves.
I wish it would come out today so we could talk about it next week in AI Engineer, you know?
Yeah, that would be nice, actually. Yeah, so I my guess is more if it was delayed, then it was probably more to do with Fable rather than GLM. Like, I'm not sure why they would care about a model that's already lower than 5.5.
Yeah. So. Right, folks. GLM week for sure. We'll also talk about GLM a little bit in this week's Buzz Corner, where we talk about the fact that hey, it's now live on the CoreWeave inference service and it's running at close to 200 tokens per second. And I'm excited because I have tokens. I have unlimited tokens, basically. But we also need to talk about a bunch of other open source stuff. Let's talk about. We talked about this. I'll just mention this briefly. Unsloth releases a beautiful 1-bit quantization of GLM 5.2. Let's shout out Unsloth. Incredible work for them. This takes
run it at home. Now you can run a quantized, heavily quantized version, but you can run it at home.
Yeah. It's if you have a Mac Studio or Nistan, would this fit on like 24090? Like what's the size of this is a 200 I think 200 gigabytes, right? Yeah, 200 gigabytes.
Yeah, it's a mixed quant, because if it was true 1-bit, that would be under 100 gigs.
But I think the interesting part,
200 gigs, that will fit on a Mac Studio. Yeah. They'll even fit like on a 256-bit. This one had about like 82% of the performance people were showing.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, still very high.
This is the benches for this like 1-bit thing that they released on Frontier SWI. This one bit, 1-bit still makes me fucking laugh. How does this work with just 1-bit? It's incredible, but fine. GLM 5.2 with 1-bit is within 1 point on Frontier SWI that GPT 5.5 is, and just a little bit below Opus. SWI Bench Pro is at 62%, and Terminal Bench is at 81%. This is the quantized one, right? For the quantized 1-bit one, this is an amazing score. Obviously, significantly cheaper on output. Now, let's be very frank about this. While it's really cool to run this locally, if you have a Mac Studio that costs what, $3,000, I believe, I don't know, and you run this with the 256 gigabyte RAM, you get 20 tokens per second. I mean, it's cool that you're running this offline. It's amazing that you keep all of the data on your network, but 20 tokens per second, come on, folks.
Look, if you're gonna start to do loop engineering, then the speed starts to matter less, because you're just gonna run the 24/7 anyway. There is something there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you need to go in and fix something, you're not going to do it. You're not going to wait.
You're not gonna put this in your Hermes and just like wait for every return. I believe what you should do instead is find a zero retention policy AI provider that is cheap and fast and is US based, because I think for many people the concern is, hey, this is a Chinese model, I'm sending my data to China. If you find a zero retention provider that is cheap and fast and US based, then you should run the model at 100, 200 tokens per second, very fast.
That's the big point about these huge models that are open weights. You can't run them. Usually you can't just run them at home. But the thing is, nobody can take them away, like what happened with Fable. So if somebody decides, oh, it's not allowed anymore, even if it's a US provider, it's the government would say you are not allowed to run it. You could, in another country, still use it because the weights are open and you can access them. And a company can build their business on this, knowing they always will have access to the model. Worst case, they just build their own AI machine for the company. But the model can't be taken away from you. So that is a big plus for the open weight stuff.
So, and speaking of running this on the Mac Studio, that used to cost one amount and is now costing another amount. Peter, you brought this. Apple is raising prices, and the reason why we can consider this costing like as AI news, first of all, many people are running AI on their Apple hardware. Second of all, this is a second-hand effect of AI revolution. The reason why Apple is raising prices is very similar to the reason why memory sticks around the world are costing 3 times as much as when you bought your SSD last year or two years ago. Yeah, Peter, why is Apple raising prices, Peter? Please tell us.
Yeah, because I was generating lots of pictures and videos, and it came to bite us back.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Sam Altman somewhere said famously that people saying thank you to ChatGPT is costing them millions of dollars. Like if people were less nice to ChatGPT, it would cost them less. But like every person at the end of the chat is saying thank you, and the ChatGPT generates you're welcome after this like long thing. Imagine how much that scales. AI is so in like capacity constraints that memory is basically having its incredible like resource intensive moment. Memory is significantly Listen, maybe you can talk about this, but like it's harder to produce more quantities of memory, SSDs and RAMs and otherwise. And so is even Apple with their supply chain is really having a very constrained like resource. And Apple famously, the memory in Apple device is very costly. But now, even with that, the base versions of everything is rising by like 20%, which is fairly crazy.
Yeah, a lot of the data center contracts from the big companies, stuff is getting signed ahead of time, like a year and a half, and orders are being booked way ahead of time. And the funny thing is that even when we see open source models that you can run at home, that actually just increases the demand more, because now businesses say, hey, we can spend $500,000 on a DGX on a GPU rack and buy a few B200s. So that's just the demand it's only going up from this. Remember, a very small portion of the population actually runs agents and stuff. Like the amount of people that use them versus the amount of people that could use them, it's still like an order of magnitude difference or there, right? So yeah,
it's going to get worse before it's going to get better.
Yeah, the additional is kind of double whammy effect. It's apart from all of the super heavy data center use. My understanding is like all of the hardware is like base RAM is also increasing, right? The base iPhones and so on. It used to be, if you go back a few years, it used to be like, I don't know, 4 gig or something. Now it's probably like 8 or 12 or whatever. Yeah, and I think also I remember hearing something that lower cost manufacturers of phones, they're reducing, in China, for example, they're reducing their sales expectations for next year, because they're just thinking we're going to have to raise prices and we're just going to get killed. So people just not going to buy new phones. So yeah, it's having a real impact now.
Yeah, secondary order effects of us generating cat pics is memory like prices are way up for SSDs, for computers, for phones. The next iPhone is going to cost more because we're all compute constrained and everybody's buying memory in addition to GPUs. So it's not only NVIDIA that hikes, it's also CPUs. I don't know if you saw Intel is like flying because Intel can generate chips. By the way, Intel created a chip or something, 1 nanometer. Nistan, if you can look into this, if it's interesting. But yeah, I think we'll move on from this. This is the secondary order effects of AI. Is it worth it? I think yes. Like I'd love living. I love living in the era where Fable releases and we all get a taste of the insane future. But we'll all have to pay more for our devices. I'm very happy that I bought a Mac Mini already and it's here. All right. I also think that this will be solved at some point. Hopefully. Let's move on to open source Crea, folks. Crea released their Crea 2 model as an open source model. We talked about Crea 2 when it came out. Victor came to the pod, and now he hinted that maybe it's going to be open source. As a reminder, that week, 3 models were released at the same time. Ideogram released their model as an open source for the first time, and Crea came out with their own pre-train, and this is a 12 billion parameter model, image model. They sent it in raw model, undistilled for fine tuning, and turbo with distillation. It's 2K generations. It looks marvelous, I have to say. Now, this does look like a very direct image from Spirited Away, I think, or from Totoro, this character is, but it does look very, very, very good, the Crea generations. I saw somebody do a comparison online between Crea and Ideogram, which is now the kind of 2 open source models that we have in addition to kind of the others. And we wanted to do a big shout out to Crea for the open sourcing of this. If their website loads, let me try again. Nope, I'm not getting this at all. Okay. We'll go to X then. Crea open source, and we'll show you a few examples of open weights. What do you guys have to say about their model generally? Let's take a look.
The nice thing about what I really appreciate about their work is that they're not necessarily the best possible models, and especially when you have now Banana and GPT Image 2, competing with them directly is kind of you're not going to win. So what they're doing is they're increasing the diversity of the kind of images you can get, which, especially if it's open source, I think that's for certain categories of users is just golden. Because if you're creative, you cannot have what we're just talking about, GLM, where you just have the same design come out, which is a competent, nice design. This is just not good enough at all. So if you are a design professional, you have to have variety. And I remember I was working with designers before, and they were complaining about image models a lot, that they all kind of look about the same. They all very the distribution is very collapsed, basically. Mm-hmm. So having these kinds of models that purposely go away from that is really, really nice work from them. So I appreciate them doing that and open sourcing that.
Yeah. And we should also mention that the Crea is not only in the business of building models. They previously fine-tuned models together with BFL. Was this Flux? I forgot the actual name of the Flux variation, but Crea folks designed one with the Black Forest Labs folks, and then they're training models. But Crea is all about the creative tools, and so these models help them within the creative tools. So very, very interesting auto distribution, artistic generations, and it looks incredible for an open source model. Now, somebody did a realism test, and I wanted to show this for kind of celebrities, and Crea does look like airbrushed version versus a diagram, but I think some folks pushed back on this and said, hey, on The Rock, you can see The Rock very clearly that this is a very realistic picture of The Rock. It looks like a picture with the tattoo and everything. Obviously they trained. This one has his face, but basically fully airbrushed, no tattoo. This doesn't look realistic at all. On Messi, you can also see that this looks AI generated. This looks more realistic. But I think I saw some pushback online that this is not very representative of both models, and I think this is due to prompting or something. And also the thing I saw online is that if you try to actually generate this with ideogram on their website, this hits the copyright filters, whereas Crea is like more uncensored. So this is something I wanted to bring, but I think we'll move on from Crea, and then I think we have a bunch of other stuff to chat about. So you can get Crea on Hugging Face, obviously. Shout out to the folks for this release. Baidu released an OCR. Let's just briefly mention this. Open sources unlimited OCR, 3 billion parameter model with constant KV cache, parses 40 plus page documents single pass, hits 93% state of the art on OmniDoc bench. I think that this is a very interesting, I love my little infographics here that Nano Banana does. I'm still like very excited to see how incredible, like look at this beautiful pipeline of KV cache visualization. This is the world we live in. We can just like ask and this just gets created behind the scenes. This is, let's see, they're claiming a state-of-the-art OCR 93.920 on OmniDoc bench. A lot of pages in single pass because they are upgrading memory. So traditional attention obviously grows the KV cache. As we're talking about memory getting more expensive, this is one of the reasons why LLMs are getting 1 million context windows and everybody needs memory. So obviously the regular quadratic problem with memory is growing the more context you need. So they're fixing that with different pipelines. So it's very interesting. Very, very small OCR as well. What can you say about OCR models? It's great that we have those options. Usually most agents have some sort of API or like local way of using OCR. So it's great to have a very small model to do this. I don't know if your Hermes can like run this, but probably. Anything interesting here to say, Nistan, Wolfram, on the OCR angle, or we can move on and talk about Mistral's kind of like attempt as well?
This is one of the things that's least taken advantage of by small businesses and companies. I don't think they realize that you can do it. It also requires a certain degree of tinkering, of willingness to tinker with stuff. Because I have seen from others that have put all of their company documents and stuff just running a model on their MacBook. And they found it very useful for their business to just keep a whole bunch of KV caches and to do the OCR this way. I see a lot of companies still are just using whatever, like Gemini or something, to do this. And
Gemini is really good as well. This is this is Parsebench. I don't know if you guys saw this. Llama indexes kind of like eval for OCR. They're putting themselves, Llama Parses on top. This is an agentic OCR model. They're saying they're the best in the world. But Gemini is kind of number 3 here. It's very, very, very good as well. Yeah. So many people are just using the main LLMs. I think there's a few features that like dedicated OCR models have that are like easier or cheaper to run. But yeah, definitely like the main vision language models are doing very, very good at this. Speaking of OCR, let's just mention briefly that Mistral released Mistral OCR 4. I have this somewhere here. So shout out to Mistral. This is in Tools and Agentic Engineering. They claim very cheap price as well. On Parsebench, it's a decent model. So it's number 4 on the specialized parsers thing. And then just below the Llama Parse and Reducto. So these are agentic, and Mistral OCR is one model, I believe. I don't think that it's open source at all, but it is structured document intelligence with bounding boxes as well. So Mistral releases a bounding box OCR. They ran a blind human eval, 600 plus real documents across 12 languages. Independent annotators preferred OCR 4 over every system that they tested, averaging 72% rate of beneficial. Now, Mistral is known to like, how should I say, highlight their benefits, which is great because they need to work. And Mistral is focused on European and enterprise. So maybe that's a great model in API. I think that's it for open source. Besides Liquid, 230 million parameter model. Shout out to Liquid for this. Let's just like call it out. World's smallest agentic LLM, they call this. That's very interesting. That is very interesting. 230 million parameters. Folks, in a world where memory gets more expensive and older devices with less memory are more prevalent, this is, I think, is very interesting. I don't know what this model can do, but it's wild. And Nistan says it's kind of wild. What else did they post about? They didn't post anything else. Let me go look at their main account. Maybe it's not this.
When you think about it, this is like smaller than a Create React app now.
Yeah.
So, or your node modules folder on a website.
Yeah.
And if you can pair this with some kind of knowledge-based system where you have run your OCR and you have something really small, then even on CPU is getting to the point where you can make applications that they're getting to the point where they might be good enough and reliable if you have some truth to base it on. Also, yeah, the speeds on this are going to be insane. But yeah, if you can do some kind of function calling to something smarter whenever you need, or just pull out something from a knowledge base, that can actually help quite a lot with day-to-day work that doesn't necessarily need to be automated right away or requires oversight. So
I can show a very simple use case of something like this that would be great, right? So let me pull up notes. I have as a recommendation from, let me just like open a new folder so you guys don't watch all my notes here. Let me zoom in. This is a basic note, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. I have Cotipist that Peter Steinberger recommended this, and the Cotipist runs on my device and it uses Gemma 4, which is 6 gigabytes, to autocomplete text. So, hey there, it should work. Oh yeah, this should work. You guys see, this is like a work well. My name is, see, it knows who I am, and I am the host of Thursday. You guys see, kind of auto completes. I wish I could like zoom in. I don't know why I can zoom in here on Apple.
We can see it.
Okay, they probably can see it on the vertical screen. So basically, you can see like okay. So if I just let it run a podcast and a newsletter that covers things like OpenAI, I'm just getting tab. I'm hitting tab. This is a model that runs locally, and they have like some inference locally based on what I type. I find that it's autocomplete basically for us coders with IDs. You know what autocomplete is. That runs a Gemma 4B model. If Liquid does the same thing, I can use that model instead and have it like significantly lower, and it runs like incredibly on like even lower devices. That's just one use case for small on-device things. I don't want to send everything I type into OpenAI for autocompletion, for example, right? So I think there's definitely a place for models, the small models like this. I don't know if Liquid can actually do something like that, but definitely there is a benefit here. On CPU performance, Liquid LFM, listen, I think you froze, by the way, so hopefully it's just me. LFM 2.5 is considerably faster than similar sized attention-based and hybrid models because they have their own Liquid model thing. On Raspberry Pi 5 and Qualcomm Snapdragon, it delivers the highest prefill and decode throughput in its class while keeping the smallest memory footprint. Available today in all platforms, and you can run this model very fast. And it's running on robot. Oh, they put it on this robot thing. They put it on a Unitree G1.
Yeah, like toys, devices.
I think,
or maybe having a backup system that just like turns it back on or like switches to a different Wi-Fi. You know, things like that.
Yeah. So like you can have an agentic brain on your Raspberry Pi running if you also have a Hermes or OpenClaw on that Raspberry Pi. That like once it dies, it goes and fixes it. Like that's the realm of the small model. So shout out to NVIDIA. Oh, sorry, for to Liquid for this like very small model. I really want to try it. I really want to play with it and see like how dumb it is or how smart it is. They are available on Hugging Face. I don't think they're at any place that I can try, right? Like on blog post. That's it. All right, shout out to very small models. I find it's very interesting to put it on like toasters. Nistan, we have to find a smart toaster and ship it to your house and actually put so the meme of like putting this on a toaster will actually be real, and we'll put like inference on a toaster. Move on. Let's move on, folks. Alrighty. I think maybe an hour into this, Wolfram, let's do this week's buzz, right? And then we'll talk about Wolfbench. I think an hour into the show, folks, let's run through this week's buzz super quick. We still have a bunch of stuff to talk about. We also have a guest coming on later on the show. So definitely stick with us. But also stick with us to this week's buzz, the corner where we cover everything from weights and bias and core weight. Welcome to this week's buzz. You're back. Welcome to this week's buzz. Actually, I'm going to take you guys for a brief break and then bring you back, where we talk about everything that happens in weights and biases core weave. And Wolfram, we have been testing GLM 5.2 for the sole reason that we also have it live. So you want to do the announcement?
Yes, it's finally available. Finally, I mean, we were very fast and we have a very fast instance of it. So we have GLM 5.2 available on CoreWeave serverless inference. You just need your event B key and you can use it. And yes.
Yeah.
And you can also use us through OpenRouter if you don't have a warm B key, which is surprising. But yeah, so no extra account needed.
I'm going to try to pull this out. Let me see. I'm going to try to see like some
charts.
Obviously, we talked about GLM 5.2 for a while, folks. So there's not like new. This is an exciting model to put up on our inference service, but it's doing a great job at different agentic stuff. We've been testing this. Wolfram, you guys have been playing this. I've been playing with this on pretty much like Hermes, etc. GLM 5.2 nearly matches Opus level at some of the agentic stuff, and on CoreWeave serverless, which you can guys see. Let me see here. Here. Oh yeah, like this. On CoreWeave serverless, the price for this model, this open source model, is $1.39 million input and $4.40 for the output. Cheaper than Opus with caching. We don't serve the full context window. We decided to go for speed versus like giving you a full context window. Let us know if that's a preference of yours, right? So Wolfram and we chatted with the folks who are posting this model, and we basically decided to like bias towards speed versus like long context. I don't know how many people are actually running long context, and also the compaction tools are great. So
I think that's a great thing that this model has 1 million context, but it doesn't mean that you should go all the way to the 1 million, because usually models degrade after 1/4 to half the context. So if you just use a 256K of the 1 million, but you have the maximum quality for that, you get better results than if you go all the way to the 1 million and it degrades.
Yeah.
So
and speaking of
context is important, but you shouldn't use all of it if you want highest quality.
I think that's the correct trade-off, and like we chatted with the folks on the serverless team, we all prefer speed for this model versus like full context of 1 million. It's not super useful as well. Wolfram, you want to show us a little bit of evaluation that we did for this model on our inference and generally to kind of like show folks where we are and why should they use this?
Wolfbench time.
Let's go Wolfbench
time.
So
I will share my screen. And Wolfbench has evolved quite a bit in the recent times, so it looks a bit different. And so Wolfbench, we are using Terminal Bench as a base data set, and I'm testing not just one model with Terminus 2, which is the default agent. I'm testing it with all the different agents, but for this model, I only use Terminus 2. So the page itself, it's dynamic, so you can change what is displayed. It's not just benchmark framework, it's also how you want it displayed. So we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the top 10 models on my benchmark, starting to the best, it's this one. And if we look at GLM 5.2 from ZAI, we see it is the 3rd best model that I have benchmarked here, and it even exceeds Opus 4.7. And the thing is, usually you just see the average score. Most benchmarks show just one score, but I think it's more interesting to see what is actually happening behind the scenes that you don't normally see, like the solid base, the darker part at the bottom. That is how many % of the benchmark have been solved consistently. I'll zoom in a little. So this is how many percent of the benchmark in each of the 5 runs I did, how often did it complete the task. So 61% of the tasks have been solved completely on max thinking. It's less on high thinking. The ceiling is how many percent of the whole benchmark has been solved at least once. So that is a capability, and the lower score is a reliability, and the average is here, and the best and worst run each. And what we see here is that it is a super strong model, and if you look just at the solid base, it's even in the first place. So the test that it solves consistently is on GPT 5.5 level, 61%, so is the highest one. And I also added a 3D measure where you can see how many tokens it took. So I have Gemini 3.5.
I want to bring Peter back for this one, because Peter, you kind of like talked about the token use. Wolfram, your 3D view is very interesting to me because it shows the number of tokens that a model needs to run, right? So like the flat is just the score.
That's a score.
Yeah, but 3D is actually showing you the number of tokens, and not only you can also have a price thing, right? Like there's a price depth as well.
Yeah, we see the cost of the model, and I just added a new dimension where you see the tokens, and the gray shadow is basically the cost. So you at one glance you can see that this is an expensive model. It didn't use many tokens. This model here is not. Yeah, it is expensive, but it used so many tokens to get that score. That's a Flash model, you know, so it has to think a lot more.
Is a very token hungry model.
Yeah, look at the price. GPT 5.5. It didn't use so many tokens, but about $500 here, $300, and it was under 200 for GLM 5.2. So that is also to take into account. And we can see Flash is cheap and fast, but it was more expensive to get that score than even GPT 5.5.
So how did GLM 5.2 do?
It did excellent. Less than $200 to get this score compared to almost 500 for GPT 5.5. And Opus cost also $400 instead of, also more than twice the amount to get that score, which was very close, of course. So the average was the same, but you can still see that the solid base was a little higher, which you normally don't see.
I'm afraid to ask you how much Fable was the 3D chart for Fable.
I can scroll a little bit to the right and you will see Fable. So don't look at the price.
Yeah, don't look at the price, but you see the gray shadow. This is kind of the cost. Fable was just absolutely insanely expensive. All right, Wolfram. So folks, go check out Wolfbench. Let me actually put this here, wolfbench.ai. It's, again, I will say, this is the third best model that you ever tested. Is that correct? This open source model
correct.
that we're now serving on CoreWeave Service Inference is the third best model that we've ever tested on the Terminal 2 benchmark.
And one of the cheapest.
One of the cheapest. It's just incredible. This is, folks, this is like, I'll bring this in back because like I think it's time. This is the DeepSeek moment realized. This is an open source model that's catching up to the frontier, in some cases beating the frontier models. I think that's absolutely incredible. And we should all celebrate this, and we are. And so to give you some,
fully open source.
MIT license, fully open source, now available on CoreWeave Inference. I think you get like $2 of inference when you register. If that's not enough, find us and we'll find you. We'll find a way to give you a little bit more credits on the CoreWeave Inference. It's really fast as well. So shout out to the CoreWeave team, and then I think it's time to move on. Wolfram, I think you need to drop and then maybe come back afterwards, right? So
20 minutes about.
Okay. Okay, folks, let's talk about big companies. Before we have a chat with, I think we have a chat with a friend in like 5-ish minutes. Let me make sure. Yeah, in 5 minutes. So let's chat about, I don't want to talk about CDance 2.5. I don't know, Peter, you think we should cover the things that was released? CDance 2.5 was not released. It was just announced, right?
Yeah, it's
coming.
Yeah, I think no one probably here can use it. So, and I haven't tried it. I've got no particular opinions, but it'll be cool to see how it develops.
There was a bit of pressure. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a bit of pressure. You know, the XAI sort of half released the model. I guess they kind of. Yeah, but they don't have it. I don't know if they actually released it in the product. It was like a little bit funny. But the point is that there's a bit of competition starting to like creep in. I don't think anyone like beat them outright, but it's good time to release the next model. Yeah, it will be interesting to see if Google responds, for example. Their models were great, but yes, Seedance is really lazy now.
So Grok Imagine is really fast. It's fairly good. It has audio, and I think it's not nearly close to Seedance's kind of like cinematic thing. Most of the viral AI videos that you see that like popping up and like showing actual celebrities, that's Seedance uncensored, which I think is only available again in China. The very interesting thing about Seedance 2.5 that I saw is that they will start working with IP licensing. So obviously, the explosion of videos on the internet that use like celebrities, and you probably saw The Office with Andrei Karpathy and The Office with Cloud members, etc. Those types of things are like generated with, like, for example, with Seedance Uncensored. And the way they generate this is not by providing just an image. They actually can provide video clips, and those models can learn from video clips and create other video clips. So this next version of Seedance can do that, but I think it's still restricted to copyright because it works. And I think the highest thing here is 30 seconds potential generation, and then IP licensing if it works. So it comes out, like Peter said, early July 2026, and enterprises can use this now. It also comes out in 4K. Righty, folks, let's see. Oh, Nissan, you want to show us a popular thing?
No, a lot of people watch the YouTube channel Chloe versus History, which just shows like an Instagram model going back to Ice Age or historical battles, or seeing how people live in Egypt or in London, and it's actually a very good. It's actually very well done. If you want to skip through it.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very good. It even tries to like find historical figures. Like she goes and meets Cleopatra, and sometimes just complaining about the food, or But this entire series is so well done. This is just one video, but it's picked many different times in history.
I mean,
I think this is Seedance. I think this is Seedance.
It looks like Seedance. It's really good. And if this is the reason why memory is going up and why Apple is raising prices, I mean, I don't know what they choose, but I will say we don't have a choice. This seems like very well produced, right? Like it has a bunch of like historical sources, I'm assuming. That's very nice. Okay, I should show this to my kids, because otherwise, how else would you do it? You get actors, like who would be able to do that? Yeah, let's move on. So we don't get this model until very soon, and then when we get it, hopefully we'll be able to test this. What's the highest model right now? I think it's Omni, right? From Google. I think Peter, maybe you can speak to that while we wait for our guest to come.
Yeah, I think I'll need to just double check, because there are also differences. One thing to bear in mind is that there is a difference between text to video and then image to video. So if I check our leaderboard for text to video, then Omni is like substantially ahead. But image to video, Seedance is still a bit ahead, which is I think and I haven't spent like huge amount of time with like the latest video models, but I think there is something about that plays to different strengths of different models. So, for example, I remember when I'm trying. What was the OpenAI model called? It dropped out.
Sora?
Yeah. Yeah, Sora. Jesus.
Oh man, we already forgot about it. Oh no.
Yeah. So like the cool thing about Sora was that it was really good at, like, I was doing clips like that we just saw, that historical clips. You just give it like a little line and it comes up with the whole story. Like, so that was like text to video was amazing. But the image to video was kind of okay, like, because the skill set is different, right? That you need to take this precise thing, you need to maintain the consistency, you need to like rotate the scene and so on. So I think when it's image to video, it's much more kind of mechanical skill, and I think the use cases are very different. So if for text to video, it's very good for kind of casual use. That's why I think it sort of worked well for this kind of, I just want to like share this silly clip with my friends. I think that was very good. But I think Sora was like not that good for professional use, because for professional use, you really have to use image to video or like video to video. Because you have to define like, this is my brand, this is the scene that I want. It's no good to just say text.
Even for the Chloe history thing, like you need consistency between the scenes, you need the brand consistency, you need her face all the time. Yeah, like it's a different skill.
yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see if it like also different kind of companies go into different direction. But yeah, I think my expectation is that image to video is like by far the more important capability, and we'll kind of see. I would say for commercial market. So we're kind of see how well it does at that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the sit-down thing. All right, folks, I think it's time for more. While we're waiting for our guest to kind of arrive, maybe we'll push that a little bit. Let's talk about big companies and APIs. Let's talk about Fugu. Wolfram, before you drop, I want to like hear your thoughts about Fugu as well as Peter. Sakana AI launches Fugu, which is a multi-agent orchestration system that basically acts as one API, but there's a bunch of agents behind the scenes, like seven raccoons in the trench coat is beating models like Fable or coming close to models like Fable based on their announcement. Sakana is a lab that we've covered here multiple times, but I haven't used their models beyond the kind of the testing. But they're claiming frontier performance after sending the request into this. Let's see what else. You call one endpoint, and behind the scenes, Fugu is routing your test to the right models, assigning roles like thinker, worker, verifier, and combining the results. Fugu scores 95.5 GPQA Diamond, 93.3 on Live Code Bench, and 73 on Sweetbench Pro. Not matching or beating Opus 4.8, Gemini 3.1, and GPT 5.5, and they're not using any model that aren't publicly accessible. So they're routing this to different models like that, and it's very interesting. So what do we think about this approach? We saw this from OpenRouter kind of, and now we're seeing this from Fugu. Wolfram?
They trained their own routing model to decide which other model to call in that way, and they are calling these models in agentic way, so they have access to tools and can do stuff, and then the master model, the headbot in charge, can decide what to take as a response and provide to the user. And I think this is the new paradigm to do this. I've been doing this with Hermes as well, where I have my main agent call sub agents to discuss stuff like the consortium that Karpathy posted about. So this is just a way to do it automatically and provide a single endpoint that does that as a service, basically. And I think we will be seeing more of this. Like we mentioned in the TLDR, it is reminding me of what OpenRouter is doing. And yeah, I think this is one of the new things, like we have seen the thinking that is happening in the models to reach a new level of intelligence, some mixture of experts models to make it more affordable. And this is one to raise the intelligence even higher by combining different models to get one result. And you don't have to set all of this up.
I wonder if my notes have, which kind of models are they using? That's what I want to know, like behind the scenes. They're saying they're using like publicly accessible models, so they're not using a Fable or whatever.
I think it's Opus, Codex, and Gemini. They do something because before they worked on evolutionary merging of the weights themselves, but now they're just doing that same mentality for the skills files, and that's a very good way to go by it. We're going to see a lot more of this, especially it is something that people already do. Like if you use AMP, for example, you have something like this where it just passes the review to Codex and then goes back to Opus to implement it, or to Sonnet. And we're going to see a lot more of this. I am excited to see what kind of performance they get in just using open source models. So I would like to try out that system.
Yeah. We'll definitely try it out. I saw that they have their own like payment tier, and that they ran out, like folks ran out of like tokens like super quick because they're routing this on to multiple models. Maybe the last thing I'll say here before we kind of continue is this is backed by two papers that are going to be presented in ICLR or have been presented. ICLR happened already. I don't remember. Trinity and the conductor. So this is why Nano Banana Pro decided to put me in as a conductor here. These models are running and kind of like routing tasks to the other models. It's also probably pricing interested. So like routing, I think, is a good idea when you can like route this based on price as well. So like if you have tasks that are easy for smaller models and cheaper models to do, then you route them to the cheaper models and you get like benefits on pricing.
I think we've got something along these lines as well at Arena. So because we've got a lot of data and we train the classifier for prompt, so you can go and chat to Max model, which kind of routes you as well. And it's interesting that if you, like you said, Alex, like if you just say, give me the best model all the time, it just kind of gives you Opus like half the time. So it's like, so the question is, why not just speak to Opus then? Yeah. And then if you ask, oh, give me like a dirty joke, then it routes you to Grok. That's about it. Yeah. So so I agree with your last point, but I think where this really comes into play is that if you are very smart about like reducing costs very aggressively, then I think that's the way to do this. Because otherwise, you're kind of almost just using the best model the whole time. And in terms of like coordinating between different agents and so on, I guess that's kind of probably a temporary thing. Maybe they have a bit of advantage, but that's probably not going to last.
And they definitely had launching issues. We have a comment from Brad that said they didn't get through a single prompt on the $20 plan. And because this is agentic and it sends like to multiple models, I think they had a bunch of issues. All right, folks, time for us to move on. I want to invite our guest to the stage. Sean Grove, welcome. I'll take off all of you guys. I think we'll say bye to Peter and Wolfram. I think both of you have to drop. Wolfram, if you can come back afterwards. Welcome, Peter. Thank you, Wolfram. Thank you. Nistan, feel free to stick with me because the next conversation we're going to have to talk about orchestrating multiple agents. So welcome Sean Grove to the stage. I believe first time in video, definitely not first time participating in comment section. I think you are very most prolific. Still, when you worked on OpenAI, I saw a bunch of comments. Unofficial comments or like side comments were definitely from the comment section. Sean Grove, founder of Linzumi, founder of other companies as well. I don't quite remember the other companies. And also you worked at OpenAI for a while. Feel free to introduce yourself to our audience, and then we'll talk about your launch this week, which I think I found very exciting. I wanted to hear from you how it is to build that company.
Yeah, sure. So like you said, my name is Sean. So I'm running a company now called Linzumi. But before that, I was at OpenAI on the post-training team and later on the alignment team. This is my third company. So just finished the third YC batch. And so just sort of, I didn't quite stick the landing on retirement. And so I'm back at it.
Nice. You didn't quite stick the landing. So let's talk about agent orchestration. Also, I want to call out, and I called this out in the beginning. You have talked at the AI Engineer, and your talk is one of the most viewed talks at the AI Engineer. Maybe a brief sentence on what you talked about and why like that got as much. I think you're over 1,200,000 views at this point for your talk, which is very, very impressive.
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges of like working at a big lab is everyone is focused on the mission and is typically very mission aligned, and sometimes it can be hard to communicate that out to the public. And so like I wanted to, we did a lot of work on the model spec at OpenAI, and so like just the first step is writing it down and sort of communicating what's a bug and what's intentional, personality quirks and things like that. But then from there, like really what you want is to train a model sort of against the spec. Like you want to have a technique that you don't just throw a blob of RLHF examples at it. Yeah. So worked on a technique called deliberative alignment, and sort of spoke a little bit about how this related to the evolution of like O1, O3, GPT-5. And I think it struck a nerve or struck a chord because one, it's a little bit controversial to say that like we shouldn't care as much about the code. In the same way that like we don't necessarily care about the exact output of compilers. There are some people who really do, like it is their job to do that. But for most of us, we sort of craft the properties that we want the code that's output in a spec called code. And so like it's quite possible that there are these higher level specifications that can produce the same sort of output. And lots of folks have this idea like spec is only text. And so, how you can't capture all these nuances. But while I was at OpenAI, I worked on so this deliberative alignment technique, but also authoring tools that helped people to understand like the ambiguity in their statements, right? So this is one of the things that people sort of expect code to eliminate for them, right? You can't have ambiguous code, usually, hopefully. And so like just sort of changing the mindset of like, well, can you bring sort of like a Socratic compiler into the world where it sort of interviews and says like, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by kid friendly? Do you mean like content restrictions, or like, it's good for small hands, or, it understands children's voices, and contradictions. You said you wanted X and you said you wanted not X. Like, I don't know what you want me to do with this. And those are actually very analogous to, say, linters in coding and type checking in coding and like compiler theory and whatnot. So yeah, I think that the idea was a bit novel, but it resonates with a lot more people. A lot more people are able to program in, say, Rust or JavaScript than in pure assembler. And I think a lot more people will be able to participate in programming and like creation at the spec level as well. But you do need the tooling around it to make it sufficiently robust.
My talk at the Engineer World's Fair that's coming up next week is going to be about whether or not we should read code at all. And now that, like you're saying, a lot of more people can be participating, many of those people cannot read the outputs of the AI agent that does it for them. I think this plays like very interestingly into that. And I think I'll move towards like talking about Linzum and how you're building this company as well by asking you this question. So I don't know if you saw my essay about the ZL Continuum, but basically on the one side, there's the Mario Zechner from Pi saying read every piece of critical code. On the other side is your maybe former colleague, Brian Lopopolo. There's like, I named him YOLO Popolo, and it's like, hey, code is liability. Just think about this as an abstraction. Just go. Where are you on that scale now that you're building a company and you have to like write and deliver products to consumers? Do you still see outputs of your agent's code? Do you care about them at all?
So the way that I typically work is I try to describe the properties that I want it to exhibit. And so, a lot of folks are like not even familiar with, say, like property-based testing, right? So it's sort of like whenever you write a unit test, you're saying, given this input and this output, this is what I expect. But for the vast majority of times, like that doesn't even prove that success. It just proves that like success is possible, not even that it's likely. And people are like very attached to this. Whereas, if you look at something like, Quick Check or whatnot, you describe the properties of the software and then it tests millions of different inputs against it. And so I would argue that that is both more concise, more accurately representing your intentions, and also much more thorough than, say, reading every unit test and whatnot. So I'm much more there's a lot of advantage to living in the future. Like 6 months in the future, the agents are going to get better. And if you can like find tools to express yourself, like you should not be reading the output. You should be reading the failures of the system to adhere to the properties that you care about.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you don't. I mean, there are times where you should like, in order to debug a thing, you need to go be like, what is this agent doing? But like, that's very rare.
So you're focusing more on kind of the harness around this, the tools around this, the outputs, and building the system that builds the system versus just reading the actual output.
Exactly. So I think the goal is for Linzum is like everyone should be able to drive like 10,000 agent hours per person per day. Yeah. And like if you are involved in reading the output or making every micro decision, you'll never be able to scale to that stage. So you need a ladder of evidence that allows you to build up trust in the system and know like when to trust it and when not to.
Yeah. That's actually what my talk about. So we're spoiling this a little bit, but I think that's incredible. Okay, so let's talk about Linzumi. Sean, last time we talked, and you kind of gave me like a little heads up, and you've been sending me some clips of Linzumi. Basically, if I remember correctly, the thesis was, hey, who is running agents right now? For like, are you right now having agents that are doing work for you while you're out and about, and like in a restaurant, etc. And I will say, even right now, I don't think that I have ambient agents doing work for me as of right now, because I still have the need to like keep up with them and send them work, etc.
Exactly.
There's all this talk about loops, blah 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 blah. I do want to ask you, have you turned that thesis into Linzumi and just like talk about like what are you building and why you're building this right now? If, like you're saying, it's worth living in the future, 6 months in the future, and like building tools for that. So frame Linzumi to me in that way.
Yeah, so maybe like a different way of framing it, if you don't mind, is like we actually can think of so many different things to do. Like this conversation right now, almost certainly would generate hundreds of agent hours of work to go do like follow-up research or to implement new features or these kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
But one, capturing that is really challenging, and like sort of feeding the engine, feeding the agents with more work. And then on the other side is like, the more work you feed it, the more verification work you have. On the other side of like, well, I have 100 PRs. How would I actually, check any of these? And so like with Linzumi, the idea is like, we just want to capture your ambient chats. You're in, it sort of looks like Slack and you're just chatting with everyone. But you can also run your Codex jobs and send your code jobs and whatnot in there. And we also hop on your calls with you, like your customer calls or your stand-up calls. And behind the scenes, what we're doing is sort of continuously compiling out a specification for your company. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? You said the header is going to be pink. Like, why is it pink? And I say, well, last week you were on a call with, Joe Customer, and you said that it was going to be pink. And so with this specification, then you can use sort of that deliberative alignment technique that I talked about earlier to generate tasks and sort of a DAG of work for these agents to kick off the maximal parallelism of all of them. But now you have like lots and lots of agents working concurrently, which is great. But like really, you don't want them to reach out to you for every single decision. They need to be able to verify their work against the specification. So you're sort of capturing the conversations that you're having with your teammates and with your code. So we at 8 o'clock we can ping you and say, hey Alex, we saw on stand up you said we're going to do 10 of these things today. We saw all your coding jobs. It looks like you got 6 of them over the line. Do you want us to just kick off 4 agents to go ahead and work on those against the specification that you discussed? So you wake up to these PRs that should appear with the evidence that you care about. Like, why do you believe that this is ready for a human to see? So that's the thesis here is like, if you are trying to drive 10,000 agent hours per person per day, what are all of the bottlenecks that you need to remove?
And so, what are some of those bottlenecks for using as many agents per day? I think the thing that identifies Linzumi, I think there was a release that you probably know about, Cloud Tag, and they started circling around as well, is the difference between what you guys are building and the Cloud Tag and what everybody else is kind of like at now is that everybody else is one person to one Cloud kind of interface. Right, like one person talks to their Cloud code, and then maybe their team only gets to see what they did with that Cloud, like agents, multiple windows, maybe at the PR level, like only once they pull the pull request up and the code is like shared. You're talking about a collaborative environment within the agent knows about not only my output or my inputs or what I want to do, but like generally like major decisions. So I do want to talk about like, is your basic thesis that that's what's needed to unlock the running multiple hours, the alignment is that's what's needed for agents to actually do productive work at a company?
I think at the core, it's being the source of truth for the company, like what are we doing and why? And you can use that to drive and verify work. But then there's like a lot of blocking and tackling, right? Like sometimes you should probably have the agent reach out and be like, hey, you said you want this to be blue, but last week you said it's going to be pink. And that's fine. Like it's a contradiction though. Like what do you want to do? Like make a decision now before you have to like undo all of this damage down the road. There's stuff like managing compute at scale, managing secrets. So sort of crab trap type of things where like you really need to be able to trust that these agents, are able to use your secrets in a non-destructive, irreversible way. And so on and so forth. Like there's a lot that goes into that, but at the core, it is like just having this continuous sort of Jeeves-like character that just knows everything about your company and your life. Yeah.
I want to ask you about the approach of sandboxing knowledge. Let's say the Cloud Tag. We haven't talked about Cloud Tag at all. Like we'll cover this at the end of the show. They are sandboxing kind of the Cloud instance to the session of the channel. So like the coding channel does not get access to the legal channel as well. Can you talk to me about kind of like sandboxing knowledge, or is all knowledge required everywhere, and like the one Jeeves character needs to be omnipresent across your organization?
So I think you want an omnipresent source, but it's sort of like at your company, if you were to distill down everyone's knowledge, like that is the source of truth of everything that's happening in the company, but it doesn't mean that everyone should have access to all of that, right? So like it's sort of like it should be viewing this database or this source of truth through my lens. So both through like with my permissions, but also with like the things I care about, right? If I'm a designer, like I probably view the world in a particular way, and like I want to know the information in a particular way versus like if I'm a sales leader or a sales rep or an eng lead. And so it's sort of like your agent needs to be able to run permissioned queries against it, and then be able to translate that into the information. So, for example, if it knows that hey, you need to go and review this PR, it should go and check the PR ahead of time and say like, well, Alex really cares about design. Like he always mentions these design aspects. Why don't I go and prep it and make sure that like it actually meets these things before I ask him to review it? So ultimately, the vision that I want to build is that like if my system is not calling me, then it means everything is great, right? Their agents are working, they're continuously humming, and whenever they get stuck on something or like something escalates and it needs my decision, and only I can make that decision, then it will reach out to me. And like I think that's the way that you can actually scale to 10,000 agent hours per person per day.
10,000 agent hours per person per day. I don't think I'm very closely near that. Is that in the token billion area, right? I'm assuming. Yeah, definitely.
But, tokens are like all the AI labs are like rushing and competing and spending trillions of dollars to make tokens cheaper, faster, and more intelligent, like per token. And like we should ride that wave.
Yeah, Nissan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking at the UI of it, and this is something that I've needed because as you run different agents, sometimes you run Hermes, sometimes you do some data gen, sometimes you do some browser stuff. I wanted to know, what can I hook this up with and what can I not hook this up with? Like if I have some kind of custom harness that I'm running, or if I'm running both Hermes and Codex and Cloud Code, how does that work? This is based on very limited time.
Oh yeah, no worries. So actually, if you drag that general channel over, I just want to show like one cool feature. If you just drag it into, so like so that you have this like I typically have 2 52-inch monitors with like 30 or 40 agents at any given time, sort of zoomed up. But yeah, so right now we just support Codex, and Wafer is like we're using their tokens, but we drive Codex internally. We have Cloud Code behind a feature flag, but it's not quite as polished yet. And then we'll figure out like the other harnesses later. But I'm not totally sure like how we'll approach any sort of custom harness. I think it's much more about like, can you drive the agents? Can you get the information? So actually, if you go to like your job over there, the give me a list of pages.
This one.
I see you do have GLM 5.2 with Codex, which is me and Wolfram are playing around.
Yeah, and we actually give free tokens, like a couple tens of millions of free tokens per day per person from GLM 5.2. It's from the Wafer folks. It is super fast and like very, very pleasant to use. But whenever you kick off a job, the first thing that we actually ask the agent to do is like to come up with a plan and a metadata zoom plan. So like you can actually sort of zoom out and see the like what's going on at a high level. I think most of the time you probably don't want to be at the sort of directly talking to the harness level.
Let me send something and then we'll see.
Yeah, sure.
Alexis, let's go. So this will run Codex, correct? On my, And I want to talk about the benefits of this as far as I see it, Sean. And obviously this is not a paid promotion. You're a friend, and I was very interested in how you approach companies and thinking about the future. And this is why I kind of like want to see this as well. The benefit of this is that I'm now running Codex in this place that is now exposed. I have a bug here that I'll send you later, but we'll probably offer Wafer to eat. Let's try this with Codex.
I think it might be too large for the.
I think I made
initial
it from the computer. But basically, I'm about to kick off a Codex task that is now exposed to that company kind of like agent and to everybody else in the company. So I'm running Codex on my computer, on my tasks, but like the context and the execution, everything is exposed to the knowledge information area, which is like completely different than what happens right now. What happens right now is that I'm on my computer running Codex, and then I tell people like, hey, I ran Codex, here's the result of it, right? Like, can you talk about the difference?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy to share my screen and sort of show what it looks like.
Yeah.
So like, I have a couple of different computers running my jobs right now, but this is my coworker, and I can come in here and see like, let me see like what he's working on right now. And I'll get like this sort of zoomed out view, or I can dive into each of these individual jobs. And so I can see like he's working on like a lot of different things. Some of them are like sort of blocked. Some of them are like urgently need his attention. Some of them are running concurrently.
Let me just pause this and sure. Tell folks who are viewing this. Folks, you're viewing how a company that runs agents in parallel, but in the shared kind of space is happening. Like Sean just now checks out on the Codex works of his like coworker, and that's not like very easily accessible. We tried to do something like this with Hivemind and Weights and Biases. We talked to you about last week, but this is like working within the same channel, the same Slack, but also like the jobs. I think it's like super, super cool.
Yeah, and then like, so just to like drive home the idea that like we are all generating potential work all the time that really could be turned into it. Like we just find this thing of like, every time there's a message and it's like, hey, pick up this, I can just come in and say like, okay, I've turned this into a job and like run this. Like I want you to run this with wait for a Claude Code and go and do this. The idea being that anytime you see some sort of actionable information sort of comes into the system, you should be able to turn that into work that the agents can go and do and verify for you at scale.
I think, so folks definitely go check out Linzumi. You guys are giving focuses teams specifically in businesses, right? It's not like for one person, there's no...
I think for vibe coders, it's nice too, because you can do it, you can have a runner sort of on your computer and you go access it from your phone and just have it working for you, a bit like OpenClaw, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I do want to maybe last question ask you before we can move on, specifically about your third-time founder. You've built companies before. You also worked at OpenAI. Now, I'm assuming, the world has changed for you as much as it changed for everybody else in AI engineering back in like December of 2025 to early 26, with these models being able to do completely like long horizon tasks. Talk to me about building an AI native, agentic native company. Is it easier? Is it just more work to do? How is it different being a founder that's building a software company than the previous companies that you built, given the capabilities of these tools?
Yeah, no, I would not have started another company. Like I would have retired, but for this capability. In particular, like, I have children that I want to spend time with and I want to be present with them, which is why it's like so critical for me that like, I don't want my mind thinking about sort of the work that's going on. Like I want to be focused, and if the system needs something, then it can reach out for me. And so like that's sort of built into like every core premise of Linzumi. So both like what it offers, but also how we build it. And so like I think like Fable is probably escape velocity. Like a Fable level model is escape velocity for that, where it is like incredibly capable of long-term tasks. And like Opus and GPT 5.5 are both like very good, but they need a lot more attention at each individual step. And so I think like we're right on the cusp of like AI native companies just being obvious for everyone.
I think that's fucking incredible. And also, I miss Fable, and I had that feeling once before. I didn't have that feeling with 4.0. I had that feeling with Sydney. If you guys remember Sydney, a long time ago, the Microsoft released, and then they took away Sydney away from us. Like, oh no, I miss that ability to be able to talk to that level. So I think me and everybody else is like, we're having like Fable withdrawal, and it's kind of crazy. And I agree with you. We'll have to see like where this is going once stuff like this releases. Sean Grove, thank you so much for joining. Good luck on Linzumi. Congratulations on the launch. I think it's awesome. People go check it out at linzumi.ai, linzumi.com.
Linzumi.com.
Linzumi.com. Awesome. Sean, thank you so much for joining us. And,
thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll catch up next time. Nistan, it's me and you. It's me and you, and we have a little bit time left to talk about maybe Claude Tag, which is like, we already kind of briefly mentioned. And
people are getting nervous about this, but yeah, let's get to it. I have some opinions after you go through.
Okay, so I think it's a very good transition from like the Linzumi to talk about Claude Tag. Claude Tag was launched by Anthropic. Let me pull up my screen, and it's a very interesting thing. Claude joins your Slack as a persistent, proactive team member that writes PRs, runs analysis, and follows up on stale threads. I want to zoom in on my infographic here, but basically, when I first heard about this, I was like, okay, so what's the big deal? Like you can tag Codex, you can tag other places in Slack for a long time. This is different. As far as I see, it's a AI teammate with ambient mode. Ambient mode specifically is a very interesting part here. It's not like generally only replies when you tag it. It listens and reads the conversations, and then basically sometimes just reminds you to do stuff like stealth threads. It's not a bot that you ping. Every other integration in Slack that I saw is just the bot that you ping. This is more like a AI teammate thing, and it does a bunch of stuff. It does the incidents resolution, etc. The pricing tier is very interesting, but also the locking of the enterprise into the cloud ecosystem is also very, very interesting here. And I want to shout out Simon. Let me pull up Simon's thing. Not Simon Willis on the front of the pod, another Simon. Simon, just pull it up. That have been Simon Smith. He's been using this, and let me pull up. He's like really saying that this is like a completely new thing. Literally, I'm reading from Simon Smith. I called him to the pod, but he's busy working with Claude. We just started playing with Claude Tag, but I can already feel how this paradigm shift is important because I will accelerate AI diffusion and change AI Labs business models. It's not that there have been AI in Slack tools before. That's not radically different. What's different here is an enterprise can buy Frontier AI with a Frontier AI harness and deploy it in one shot to their entire org, not worrying about giving everybody a seat license and cloud accounts and making them download Cloud Desktop. It's much more like the new employee than like rolling out a new piece of software. I think that this is like the big thing here. Cloud Tag, basically, and if you look at Andrej Karpathy's tweet about this, that got dragged all over Twitter, which is awful. This is a new paradigm in how people deploy AI intelligence within an organization versus just like a technology. It's a seat-based pricing from Anthropic. Obviously, pay for tokens as well. But you don't ask them to do cloud code. You don't ask them to anything. They just talk to a different kind of like entity within Slack. That entity is shared across the teammates. So that's very similar to how we talked to Sean Grove about Linzumi. The shared context between you, me, and Claude, this new Cloud Tag thing, in the single context of our Slack channel, I think that's what's the big piece here. So no longer seat licenses, usage-based licenses instead. And this is like an AI employee.
Yeah, this is moving towards proactive AI, something that is Cloud Tag is how Meta should have done its mass employee surveillance. Maybe they would have caught the leaks before they happened. Yeah, they're moving towards, I think Notion might start to be in a little bit of trouble for this. But again, also Notion was not proactive in that sense.
Yeah,
it was just there, and this integrates with that as well. Yeah, I saw quite a few people are getting nervous about Anthropic moving into doing SaaS software, but they have to because they have to generate a return, and that's where
I imagine the stickiness of this is insane. Like I imagine, like Anthropic say that 65% of their product team's code now comes from their internal version of this thing. It's not 65% of their code in Anthropic. It's the 65% of the code that the product team ships. It's a very interesting stat that they decided to send. It's not like the cloud code, Boris Cherny code. It's the product team that ships code. That I don't know how much product code the team ships. There's one cloud per channel.
Look, it becomes like the actual hive mind now that pulls together all the work that people are doing with AI. It's kind of becoming like the Cortana from Halo, that it's not just something you prompt. It's actually there as an employee. And yeah, as you said before, Anthropic trying to do a lock-in, it will be because if you change cloud code from Codex and then you have your Codex bot, it's still going to do largely the same thing in Slack.
Yeah.
But this, you start to get used to the personality, interactivity, and stuff. So they're playing on their strengths here when it comes to that.
Dude, so not only personality and interactivity, the knowledge that goes in there is getting locked behind like a third party. Notion, if I'm down with Notion, I can export my stuff into Confluence. Slack, if I'm down with Slack, I want to move to Teams. I think Slack is a little bit different. Like, I don't think you can like export history in Slack, but I think it's like possible to save it somewhere for like research. This one means that like the knowledge of and the context of your company is getting locked into a memory that lives inside the agent layer of Claude, and they're not gonna like send you the weights of Claude. So it's very interesting here that like you're not getting a model change. Obviously, you're getting Anthropic. Claude is gathering about conversations. It's definitely triggered some ick from many people. But I think for many other people, it's going to be a very cool thing, specifically for folks who need training. And I think that this is Simon's like quote as well. Listen, if you remember Stable Diffusion that started in a Discord channel, and then Midjourney is still a Discord channel. A big piece of that is learn by seeing others learning. So you can see how other people prompt, and then you can learn. This is also that to an extent. Instead of using Codex and Cloud Code on a separate machine and then telling people the job that it did, if you're using it to chat with Claude, other people will learn how to interact with it just because it's there in the Slack channel. I think that's also like a very cool and important thing there.
Yeah, it's also like you hired someone new in the company and they want to ask, maybe they are in the tech side or maybe not, but they just want to ask, hey, how do I fire up this provider or this service? And that was always, you had to ask someone else in the company and you just like copy paste stuff. Now they can just ask the Claude bot. It looks like, and it decides what is safe and not safe to provide to the other person. Yeah, this is pretty. I do see now why people are saying that this is pretty different. It's like it is a new paradigm on how you integrate in an AI. Yeah, will be interesting. Yeah, let me know if you guys implement it.
I can't wait to see if like this is getting turned on the enterprise level inside CoreWeave and play with this. I think an AI teammate that's Claude. Obviously, for everybody in Anthropic, that's already the thing. They've been running like this for a while. But I think it's like it actually does things. It like follows up on meetings and it does interesting things. So definitely want to check this out. So shout out to Claude for this release. For many people, they don't like it getting locked into one ecosystem. They would like a tool like that, but like Linzumi is offering with the ability to change different models.
Yeah, they're staying a step ahead here.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more
time
we had. I had a quick realization while I was being interviewed here about my startup and stuff. And I was talking to a bunch of other kids that had done theirs. And then the interesting thing I found that for most of them trying to provide the business value, they were making products for small businesses like either legal or bookkeeping, inventory, and so on. And most of them, they were just using Sonnet. I said, Sonnet is good enough for this. So it's coming to this point where most of the, at least on the small business side, like most of the value added from AI can be done by an open source model now, or will be done very soon. Like I'm sure we'll get like a 36B at the level of Sonnet, something like Quen 26B or something. So a good portion of that, maybe over 80%, is being done. But then once you go to a slightly larger company, you want something else. So they've really thought this through, because if you fire Claude, now you don't have the context, you don't have his personality, you don't have all the build-up. You maybe necessarily you don't have like the safety aspects which you're used to, or how it's keeping data from one group of employees to the other. So yeah, very, very interesting. This does look, not come to think of it, it is a bigger deal than it first seems.
It feels like a big deal, and I'm excited to talk about this, but also like see this in action for specifically for enterprises. I don't think like people care, or open source teams, whatever. This is like for people who can pay and they're willing to like let their employees adopt AI in a bigger pace. All right, folks. One last piece of news. This is one last piece of news that I want to cover with you specifically. It's OpenAI's Jalapeno, its first custom AI inference chip built with Broadcom in 9 months. And I just love my infographic things, their own theme here. So this is on fire. They're claiming 9 months from design to tape out of this chip. OpenAI builds his own chip. Jalapeno is a custom inference ASIC designed with Broadcom, going from blank slate to tape out in just 9 months. Engineering samples are already running GPT 5.3 Codex Spark at a target frequency. This is OpenAI's going full stack products, models, and new silicon.
I asked the electrical engineering group chat where there are people that work on chip fabs on this. It was a pretty mixed opinion. First of all, they did not release any specs, so people were speculating as to why. There was some speculation as to this might have started work around 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago.
Oh, instead of the 9 months.
Yeah, it's like the design got finally finalized and then it got sent and went to tape out. And if they're running only 5.3 codecs, there might
5.3 codecs Spark. This is a small amount that they send to Cerebrus, obviously, to run fast.
It's not like the Cerebrus chips because they are just like one big giant chip. This is a lot of smaller chips. Remember, AWS makes their own Inferentia chips and stuff too. So we will see how this works out for them. It's a pretty big challenge, but at that scale, they need this now.
Yeah.
So.
And somebody added here, every dollar the OpenAI spends on a custom Broadcom chip is a dollar they're not spending on NVIDIA. So also in the context, Google has TPUs. Obviously, we talked about TPUs. Meta also has chips in custom silicon. So Broadcom is like partnering with all three of them, and NVIDIA retains the training market. So this is only for inference. This is not for training models. This is only running more, and they're planning on reducing the inference cost by 50%. This is in the same area we said like tokens are getting cheaper. Fable tokens are more expensive, but we're always moving up the capability scale, and we're always lowering the token for the previous kind of generation if we're still running the previous generation.
Yeah, there are a few now, if we can name them. There's the Grok with a Q, there's the Samba Nova chip, AWS Inferentia, Azure makes their own as well, so does Meta. We have the Huawei Ascend ones, and then we also have Telas, which has made a chip, but it's for very small, for very high speed, and Tenstorrent, and Cerebrus, and I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that market got big now, and we're just getting to the point where we need so much that even that is not a magic solution at all.
Yeah. And behind all this is like three companies: TSMC, Intel, and maybe Samsung. And behind them is ASML, and nobody else is building new stuff. Oh, and also Elon's coming up with a Terafab thing that they're planning to also start building chips.
Yeah, I think that's Samsung 7nm ones, which is fine. They just need more. They're going to send them to space anyway, so they're going to just burn down. So
So
we'll use it all. People,
everything is used. Everything is going to get used. Inference everywhere. Like we talked with Sean before. Many people don't run agents right now, and definitely most of them are not proactive agents, so that they do work on you, and most of them not 24/7 agents, etc. And this is kind of like we are living in the future in that sense as well. So if and when that comes, when agents are proactive for every person on planet, there's no choice. We need all those tools, and we'll use all those chips. All right, folks. I think this is it for today. We've had a very good run. This was a fairly chill week. We didn't get releases. We didn't get Fable back. Officially, we didn't get Fable back. We didn't get anything from OpenAI. It's very interesting why all the labs are waiting. This could be because of the U.S. government Anthropic kind of resolution path. They all want to see if that's possible to resolve. So no big model releases. Meanwhile, open source is gaining. GLM 5.2, which you can try on CoreWeave inference today, is just incredible across all of the benchmarks that we've tested it at being agentic inside Hermes or OpenCloud, harnesses. It's great at web design and just very, very good. We also talked with Sean Grove from Linzumi to hear about how they think the companies of the future will run. Sean definitely said that without this era of agentic ability to run companies, he wouldn't have started another company, which is go on retirement and spend time with his family. So that's very interesting. The reminder about next week. Next week, we are covering the AI Engineer World's Fair. AI Engineer World's Fair is their biggest conference ever. I think it's going to be bigger than all of the previous one combined. So definitely check out our AI Engineer coverage. If you are coming to AI Engineer, obviously you're going to spend time at the conference versus listening to us live. But definitely come and say hi to me, to Wolfram. We have these like bright yellow jackets. We're walking around the floor, and definitely come and hear us out in our talks. Wolfram is on Monday. I'm on Wednesday at the Token Max thing. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining, all folks, for Thursday for June 25th. We'll see you here next week. If you missed any part of the show is getting cut into a podcast and a newsletter, and it's available on thursdai.news, a website that is now, I will definitely show you quick, is showing not only all our episodes, which are great, and if you missed any part like of last week, you can go and see all of the, you can watch the episode, read the transcript, but also all of the links are here. All of the links.
I love that font that GLM made.
This, right?
Yeah, that is actually pretty.
But also, Thursday.news now has a timeline of all releases. So if you want to see what will happen in April, you can go in April and see the DeepSeek V4 dropped in April, and Ernie 5.1 and Granite 4.1. We also have a great agentic search. So GPT 5.5, for example, came out in April 23. And you can go in here and see GPT 5.5. And you can also look up Niston or any of our guests, Logan Kilpatrick. We can see Logan and hit this and go to Logan Kilpatrick, for example, as well. So this is becoming like a real source of knowledge of everything that we've launched. That we've talked about. We don't launch things here on Thursday besides this website. So please definitely check it out. Let me know feedback. All of it is agentic. I saw 0 of the code that the agents sent there. I'm fully on the YOLO Popolo scale. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Hopefully see you guys in person, some of you next week, and definitely join our next week coverage as well. Hopefully by then we'll have bigger models releases and we'll be able to talk about them. For now, signing out. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.